Alright, so generally wielding a rapier, being a so-called duelist, isn't one of the more popular playstyles in fantasy RPGs, especially Baldur's Gate 3 and Dungeons and Dragons. Paladins are awesome, casters are cool, and of course, two-handers are all the rage. I mean, look at these Giga Chads. You want to be like them, right? Right? Now, look at this guy. What a freaking badass. But wait a second, who is that? That's Sigismund, the most badass of badasses in the 40k universe, the ultimate melee space marine Chad. Now you're thinking, Moses, why the hell are you showing 40k characters in a Baldur's Gate 3 Dungeons and Dragons video? Just give me a second. Don't leave yet. I swear I'm going to get to the point. Also, like, comment, subscribe. Sigismund is a German name. And you know who else is German? One of the greatest fencers and duelists in the history of the planet, Sigmund Ringek. It isn't too much of a stretch to say that the 40k writers were loosely inspired off Sigmund in writing Sigismund, describing him and his fight style. Now there's one quote that I wanted to get to that's going to describe Sigismund in a nutshell, and it's this quote that really inspired me to make this type of build. Sigismund did neither of these. I never saw him simply parry a blow. For every move he made blended defense into attack. He somehow deflected Abaddon's strikes as the after effect of making his own attacks. Now that is pretty freaking cool. And one of the coolest characters in 40k is based off of fencing, guys. Look, like, wielding a rapier, fencing is fucking awesome. Guys, we're gonna parry, we're gonna evade, we're gonna be mobile, we're gonna riposte, we're gonna deal damage. We are gonna be the Sword Saint. Now let's get into the build. Alright guys, yeah, I hope I got you pretty pumped up for this video and this build. I'm very excited to bring it to you. I haven't seen too many videos tackling the whole one-handed finesse dex-based rapier, or, you know, one-handed only, no shield, no dual wielding, no two-hander type of playstyle, the Sword Saint. So at least in BG3, unlike D&D 5e and unlike Pathfinder, we do not have access to like a strictly Sword Saint. Our only options really are Bard, College of Swords, that fits that archetype, and then also Fighter with dueling, one-hander focus. So those are really our only two options. Ranger makes a little bit of sense, but we're not going to go that route. Talking about D&D 5e, the Monk actually has Kensi. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but yeah, which almost pretty much literally translates to Sword Saint. That Monk build is more focused on weapons. So for race selection, it doesn't really matter too much. Half-Orc is an incredible race. Dragonborn just got buffed. I think Drow, half-elf, human really fit into the archetype, as well as, you know, regular elf of a really agile, you know, rapier, duelist-focused melee build. I think that works out really perfectly, but you really can play whatever you want. So, again, race is all personal preference. To start off, I like to go Fighter for the first 5 levels, just because level 5 is such a huge power spike. And with that said, it's kind of incredibly hard to ever really justify any type of early multi-classing for a martial build, because if you do go any combination of 3-2, 4-1, you just miss out on getting extra attack, and it's not worth it in almost any scenario. Now, you could do it because Tactician doesn't require you to really power game, so that is good. Just one note, if you go Fighter first, you can go Bard if you want to bring the Bard and you want to be the Bard MC, or if you want to make Wyll a Bard and then go Fighter for him, you can do that too. But just know, for our fighting style on Fighter, we're going to go defense, and then when we go dueling, we're going to use our fighting style with Bard for using dueling there. So now for ability scores, this doesn't really change at all. We're going to be finesse based. We're an agile, dexterous really character here, and to be a duelist, I really feel like the rapier, the finesse weapons, the short sword, this is what it is. So this is going to be the initial stat distribution. We're going to do 2 into dex and 1 into con, because we still need some health, right? Now, we don't really need strength because we're not focused on that. Our damage scaling ability is going to be dexterity. Again, when it comes to dexterity, the way I'm going to set up the build is going to be Fighter Bard, where we are able to get 3 feats, and we're going to be able to round out to 20 dex. The way this is going to work is that we're going to try to get 3 builds, which we will be able to do in my setup. And of course, if you go something like Athlete or some other initial 1-point stat, increase with dexterity, you get to 18, and then you can use the ASI to get to 20. You can also do the hack quest if you want. That is another option. And then 16 con. For here, if you want to go 15 con, you can do that. If you want to go 2 feats that are both ASIs, you can get 1 in dex con to get to 16, 18, and then you can use the other one to get 18 to 20. But it's all personal preference, guys. I just like rounding out 16 con. I'm not going to invest into it anymore. And that's the initial character setup. Alright, guys, so following up from last video, I'm giving you another Google Sheets. I got such amazing feedback last video with the Death Knight Compendium, and I couldn't believe it. I'm really shocked that so many people loved it. I'm so happy to see the positive feedback and all the really, really wonderful comments. So I brought it again. Again, it's not as comprehensive as the Death Knight build because it doesn't really need to be. I think far and away, just going fighter bard, whether you go primarily fighter or primarily bard, is the best way to do it. You know, talking about the build highlights and like the lore appropriate, like it being lore appropriate, we're the ultimate duelist build, we're the sword saint. It fits into the fantasy of a rapier wielding fighter. We're super agile. We're going to be tanky by utilizing riposte, evasive footwork, and defensive flourish. We're going to get more AC from defensive flourish. We're going to get disadvantage on attack rolls towards us with evasive footwork, and then we're also going to be able to utilize defensive duelist, which I think is a very, very good feat. And not only is it lore appropriate, but it's very viable for a build like this, right? So the primary build, again, is going to be 8 fighter, 4 bard. This gives us access to 4 feats, which I think is incredible. I think the fighter variant, fighter focus variant really dwarfs the bard focus variant. We get an earlier power spike at level 5 with extra attack compared to bard. We also get 2 more maneuvers at 7 with fighter, and I think bard 6, it's only 1 more inspo charge, or maybe bard 7, 1 more inspo charge. Bard inspiration for their, you know, fighting their flourish skills, which I don't think is good enough. I'd rather have the 2 more maneuvers because we're going to use the superiority die a little bit more than we are really going to use bard. Like, we really only need to use defensive flourish when we need to. But the way it's going to happen, you're going to go, you know, you get fighting style. For fighter, just go defense early. If you want, and you're going to use Wyll, for example, who comes with a rapier, he's the Bladed Frontiers, right? Like, literally, he, to me, personifies the whole sword saint duelist type of build. Obviously, there's the warlock aspect, but we'll get into that in a bit. But if you want, for the end game version, when you do eventually get to fighting styles, go dueling level 1 or defense. It's up to you. But for the end game version, fighter, you have to take defense, because bard fighting style, you only get really dueling. That's viable for this build. So just know that. You get action surge, we go battle master. Now, I guess there might be an argument to be made if you want to make an orc, but orc, you know, half orc really isn't the sword saint type of version to me. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, but you could go champion and utilize that with the increased crits with the rapier and act 3, but I don't think it makes too much sense. I'd rather just go battle master. It just really fits into the lore and everything that a sword saint expert in melee combat, the way we parry, weave in and out, agile, and do all those things, right? So the Battlemaster things are very, very good. The only 2 core ones you really need is riposte and evasive footwork. From there, I like trip attack. You can get 2 more at level 7 fighter, but those are all personal preference. Fight, frighten, disarm. There's so many good things you can get, guys. For the first feat, it really depends. We get 4 feats, which I think, you know, I think feats are really underrated. A lot of people are ignoring levels when it comes to feat distribution, and I think you really should get 3, but I've seen a lot where like people are only getting like 2 feats in a multi-class build. I don't think it's good enough, honestly. So the first one, we have a combination of feats that we can get. Athlete is very, very good because we do have low strength. Getting increased jump distance is very good. Plus, we get 1 dex to round out from 17 to 18 or 19 to 20, depending if you want to go an ASI to get 2 dex into the build. You can do that. Defensive Duelist is incredible. I think it's very, very, very good, and plus it just fits as, you know, the rapier wielding duelist, the sword saint, right? It just makes too much sense. And then Savage Attacker is also very good. Being able to double roll for a higher damage die is very good. I really appreciate that, especially because we're going to have multiple actions per turn, especially later in the game when you're able to attack multiple times a turn. So it really increases value once you get to level 5 and then further on from there. So leveling up the build, early game I would just go 5 fighter for the extra attack. That way we get battle master, we get our maneuvers, and then we're going to go 3 bard, and then you can go back to fighter. I have this set up just for the end game version of the build, but the way you can probably kind of understand, this is how, you know, once you get extra attack, this is going to be key. Then you could just go to 3 or 4 bard if you really want to. Or, you know, if you want the other feat really, really early, you can go 6 fighter into 3 bard. But it really depends. It's all what you guys want to do. If you want to even just go pure bard and delay that extra attack by a level, that's fine too. And then you can respec later down the line. But whether you go primarily bard, it's still generally the same build. You just get a, you know, 1 less feat here if you go the bard version, but you get access to level 5 spells. You get another bard and spell charge. So there's, you know, there's a lot of benefits. Maybe if your party needs the more bard focus, then you can do that. So that's why I added this option here. I don't think it's as good as fighter, but it is what it is, right? So getting into Wyll, I think out of all the main characters, he really personifies what a duelist really is. I mean, if you look at his character selection, you hear his story, his name is literally the Blade of Frontiers. Like, he is, lore wise, he's the one that to me is the most duelist like he even comes with a rapier. He really, you know, he's a hero. And it's kind of weird because yes, he gets his powers through a warlock, but to me, his warlock powers aren't really the caster focused version. It's really, you know, packed at a blade and going towards a melee. That's where like the warlock powers really play into him being a Blade of Frontiers, melee focus. So that's why I have him, at least in my version, as the duelist type of version. You don't have to do this. I think this is perfectly viable as an MC. You can make any character really this and it'll fit. If you want to make Shadowheart this, go ahead. Or, you know, even Lae'zel this, even though I don't think that makes too much sense. But lore-wise, I think Wyll really fits into this. Now for Wyll, I still think just going fighter bard is lore appropriate. If you wanted to go 1 level dip and warlock just to do it, you can do that. But this does bring a couple questions, right? Because again, with patch 1, they didn't change extra attack. So a fighter warlock version does not get access to the flourish skills, defensive flourish. It only get 1 fighting style, but you get 3 attacks. So, you know, it makes lore sense to be fighter warlock or bard warlock for Wyll, but I don't think it's like, I don't think even this, I think the utility that you miss from getting 4 feats, the utility that you miss from the bard dip, the combination of the fighting style, another fighting style, even the lower level spells, the jack of all trades for being an MC or being like the face of the party, and of course like defensive flourish. Like, I really think the fighter bard variant is the best option. But if you feel like you can get immersed in Wyll, and this is only for Wyll, you know, if the MC, obviously you're gonna go fighter bard, but if you can't get immersed playing Wyll, going without going warlock, then you can do this. It does help a lot, especially in Act 3, because you get hexed, you know, you get bigger necrotic damage, you get frightened on crits, because we do in Act 3 you get that weapon that increases the critical threshold to 19, and if you have advantage, your crit chance, instead of 20-20, if you go 19-20, it comes to, I think, 19 point something % with advantage. So that is a good thing. You still get, you know, you're not going to be a melee caster hybrid because Eldritch Blast is so good. The invocations are good. You get a combination of Darkness, Devil Sight. Now, Pact of the Blade and the 3 extra attacks, this does open it up. You can go charisma scaling if you wanted to with Pact of the Blade, but again, I don't think it's really too appropriate because, like, you know, a Sword Saint is not somebody that exemplifies magical use and being charisma focused. To me, like, they're the physical embodiment of human perfection, kind of like how Guts is with strength, but the Sword Saint, the Duelist, is the dexterity version. So that's kind of how I see it. I have some other options here when I talk about why, my reasoning. And again, one more thing that I forgot to note, as a Duelist, like, you know, we're not wearing heavy armor. We're not even wearing medium armor. Well, for Wyll, I wear medium armor. You know, you do get access to heavy armor as a fighter, but it's not worth it with the dexterity. So you do get exotic material medium armor that pretty much gives you unlimited dex AC scaling. And you get this, I think, late Act 2 or early Act 3, but getting medium armor and it having 20 dex and getting all that AC from dex is incredible. That's pretty much it for the sheets, the Google Sheets side of this. You know, I'll give you guys access to this, and if you have any corrections or something like last time, just let me know, and hopefully you guys do enjoy this as much as you did the last video. Now, before I get into a little bit of gameplay and talking about gear, because I think gear is very important to talk about, there is going to be a Wyll specific spoiler in this video. I am going to mark it in the time check, but again, if this is like second monitor, you're listening to this and you're not watching it, just know, you know, I'm about to give a spoiler in just a second here. Alright, so with the spoiler warning out the way, we get a lot of AC with the chest armor. There's multiple chest armors that are like this that give exotic material, that give you a limited dex modifier to AC, which is incredible. In Act 3, when you do the final part of the hack quest, you get this rapier, which is unbelievable. I did talk about multiple reactions, so when you do have that offhand empty, I don't know if this works with a shield, because the way it's worded is like when your offhand is empty, that's how I think. So you get the 19 out of 20 crit, which is that's a whole subclass by itself, guys. That's very, very good. And you get another reaction, which is very nice, because you can use riposte. You can use a lot of these defensive reactions on turn, and then on your turn, you can use Dueler's Enthusiasm, which is another, this is another, your third attack here, which is nice. If you went Warlock variant, like Bard Warlock or Fighter Warlock with Wyll, then you would get, 4 attacks, technically a turn, which is incredible, right? And then Action Surge, obviously, really, really adds to that. For boots, I'm just using AC. Again, just real quick, with the weapon, you get Challenge of Duel, which is very, very good. This is not on short rest. This is not on long rest. This is every, turn you can use this as a bonus action. I rather just use the Dueler's Enthusiasm for the damage. Again, this is very, very good. Don't think that you can do a rogue thief dip and abuse this, because you can't, because it's bonus action per turn. So we can't just, use this, do this again with another bonus action, then action search for like 2 more. It doesn't work that way. For gloves, just, +2. It works out well. Helm, whatever. But really, the core of the build is going to be that masterwork chest armor whenever you get this exotic material, because it really makes it having AC so goddamn good. I have the ring with Obscure, which I think is underrated. It's just free AC. The boots, dexterity, and defense fighting style is very, very incredible. And, when we just get into battle stuff like this, I normally like to open up with Defensive Flourish, and you see our hit chance is absolutely incredible. It's so funny testing these builds and like just attack you Flaming Fist, but we are going to use a reaction here, equal to our proficiency bonus to do necrotic, and it's just solid, We'll attack here, and then we're going to kill them on this one. We'll use that again, whatever, right? And we do this. So I did use 2 reactions, so I can't use it again, which is a shame, but, you'll see here, I did not use... I don't think I did, right? All right. So we'll use Defensive Flourish, and you'll see, you'll just go from 24 to 28 AC, which is, like, disgusting. Like, that's so goddamn good. This, if I wanted to use Evasive Footwork, like, you're not getting hit in melee, guys. Like, there's no way. As long as you turn Karmic Die off, and, I have been reading conflicting things about Karmic Die where people are saying it does not work for the AI. I don't know, but, I'd rather just, I have it off and just peace of mind, right? You get a lot of other great things. You get, where do we have it? You get Weakening Strike, which is, like, good. Like, you're the master of melee. You're, like, you make them off balance into, like, having them have a, weak grip, which just makes sense when it comes to being a sword saint. I like Trip Attack. We get Disarming Attack, which I think is very, very good. You can get this later on, because I think the first 3 superiority die spenders you should get is Trip, Evasive Footwork, and then Riposte, because they're just too good. Like, Riposte is, again, one of the best, in my opinion, superiority die spenders in the game. You get Pushing Attack. This is very cool, because when you see here, you can push, and they save, but you can teleport. An action will come here, which you can teleport to them. This is really like a 1v1 focused build. You're not doing a lot of area damage, but your output consistently is very, very good. And then again, you have access to all these level 2 Bard spells. Like, you have an ability to get a concentration if you want to. There's so many things that you can do where, especially like Hold Person, like, it's really nice that you're able to, like, oh, I have a concentration I can just use. Let me just try to get a Hold Person. There's so many really, really good things that you do with this build. And of course, Bard is incredible. Another short rest. You get so much good stuff, guys. It's like, I don't know, to me, it's like really lore appropriate, and it's incredible. And I think Wyll fits it perfectly. That's pretty much it. I don't really have much else to add on to the build. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please, if you have anything to comment, please let me know. If you have any constructive criticism, I appreciate it all the time. I try to answer all the comments as best as I can. And hopefully you guys get something out of this. I don't think it's going to be as popular as the DK video, but, I still think this is a very underrated playstyle, and a lot of people should give this more of a chance, especially when it comes to Wyll, or maybe even as an MC. With that said, guys, I'll show this real quick. Oh, no, I don't want to actually search, but... So I don't think, yeah, so make sure, one last thing, you do the ask for repulse, so you're not just using all your you press L and then you go here, and then you can ask if you want to use a riposte or friends of duelists and stuff like that. But, you know, 28 AC is really nothing to scoff at, and for a medium build, that's like crazy, you know. But I think it fits in melee because that is armor class for melee, right? And the spells that target, that use attack rolls. So, you know, you are super agile. And back to the end of the video because I don't want to make it too long, but, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed. You know, like, comment, subscribe, and Moser with Negron Tech here. Have a good one, guys.